excited for this election cycle because for the first time in my adult life, I'm registered as a Libertarian, I'm voting as a Libertarian, and I'm voting for something and not just against the lesser of two evils. And I hope we get to see more of that in the future. I look forward to a future where when they're lighting up the states as far as who went for which candidate, it's not just red and blue anymore, there'll be some gold. I believe gold should represent the Libertarian Party because we represent the gold standard. And I hope to see a lot less red and blue in the future. Anyway, I'm going to start with the person closest to me, that's Daryl, right?
Yes.
All right, Daryl, tell everyone a little bit about yourself and why you're running.
Certainly, I'm Daryl W. Perry, and I represent the Libertarian wing of the Libertarian Party. I was born and raised in Birmingham, Alabama, not too terribly far from here, and a bunch of people get confused and think I'm from Louisiana. And I have to correct them and say, no, I'm not a Cajun, but I do like some of the Cajun food, and go Tigers.
Wait, you're talking about the LSU Tigers, right?
Yes, of course, the only Tigers that I would ever root for. I was telling some of the other people, grew up in Birmingham, so I'm used to SEC football and big Alabama fan, but I do pull for LSU every now and then. I know not everybody is a fan there. But as far as why I'm running for president, I'm running to promote the libertarian ideals of self-ownership and non-aggression. And I believe that it's time for the Libertarian Party to again be that party of principle that I joined in 1999. For the last several election cycles, the Libertarian Party has become the party of watered down messages and half measures in an attempt to grow the party. But if you look at party membership...
Okay, I'm going to let you answer more of those questions. This is just a basic introduction so everyone has a chance to talk about themselves.
Okay.
My next candidate on the Libertarian debates.
Thomas Clements, how y'all doing today? And I am a raging Cajun from Lafayette, Louisiana, born and raised in Michigan. I'm part Cajun now down here the last 15 years. Put my roots down here in Louisiana. Great spicy food and great people. I'm running for presidency here. I believe our economy is tanking on all of us. 19 trillion in debt. I believe a flat tax rate can be a solution going forward. And I believe that we need a good commander-in-chief that will protect us from the domestic enemies and the foreign enemies.
Well, thank you very much, Red. Next is you are.
That is Red.
That was Thomas.
Oh, Thomas.
That was Thomas, and next to him is Red.
I apologize.
Thank you, moderator.
You're welcome. I'm Heather, by the way.
My name is Rhett, and I've taken my mother's maiden name, Rosenquist, which they took when they immigrated from Sweden, I believe. And but I've been given a Native American name, White Feather, and I am very proud of that. I recently have been learning more about Native American culture. I think that it is tragic what has happened since the so-called discovery of the New World by Columbus. Some of you are aware of that, and so I would like to recommend that we change Columbus Day to Indigenous Dignity Day. And my last name is Smith, and my father was a lieutenant commander in World War II. I myself enlisted in the Navy in 1979 and served 4 years.
Thank you.
I'll turn it over.
Jack.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here. Your state is beautiful. Thank you for the invitation. I consider it a privilege. I'm a father of 3, a businessman. I own 2 companies. Founded the first one in 1994, a packaging company. The second one is a metal manufacturing company, and we have ties to your area here. Ever since Hurricane Katrina, we've been involved with the redesign and reconstruction of the pumping stations at Lake Pontchartrain and elsewhere. I got in the race, and I'm in the race, to contribute a new economic policy to this party and to our nation. I would not do it for any other reason. I'm not in it for personal gain. In fact, I hope, and when it's all said and done, if I need to carry the mantle all the way to the presidency, I will. But I hope, really, that I could turn this mantle over to a candidate that is known for politics, that is really cared for by people, and that candidate will take this important message of our party that hopefully we will unify behind to the general election, and not only win 5%, but win the election.
I would love to see that happen. And I know stranger things have happened. Hey, people win the lottery every day. So, and I would love to see us get 5%. I do believe it's possible for us to get way higher. And I don't think we should set our sights any lower than the presidency. But that being said, I'm going to start with the general questions, and I'm just going to ask a question. I'm going to let each of you have about 2 minutes to answer and see where you stand. If you could answer in less than 2 minutes, that's even better. Okay, so the Republican National Convention has made the convention a gun-free zone. Do you believe that the convention in Orlando should be as well? Ours, in other words.
I would leave that up to the hotel policy because I do respect property rights. I know when I go to Panera Bread, they say no weapons, and as far as they're concerned, I do not have any weapons on me. No, and I say that not because I am open carrying or concealed carrying a firearm, but there are lots of things that can be used as weapons. A car key can be used as a weapon. It's all in how you define the term weapon. And in New Hampshire, where I live, the term is defined so broadly that if you pick up a stick and threaten someone either offensively or defensively to cause bodily injury to that person, then it could be construed as a weapon, and if you're a felon, you can wind up going to prison for possessing a stick. I know somebody that was charged with a violation of probation because he's a felon, and he had a camera monopod that he threatened to use defensively against someone that was threatening him, and they charged him with possession of weapon by a felon, so that was a violation of his probation. So, I attempt to respect property rights, but again, the term weapon can be defined so broadly as to where anything could wind up being used as a weapon. But I would defer to the hotel if they wanted to make it a gun-free, weapon-free zone.
All right, for the rest of y'all, I'm only referring to guns because, as we know, you can use anything as a weapon, including mind control. All right, go ahead.
All right, so the question is?
The question is, the Republican National Convention has made their convention a gun-free zone. Do you believe the Libertarian convention should be a gun-free zone?
Well, what the Libertarians going to do at that convention, that's what they're going to do. But I believe in the basic principle of the Second Amendment, and I also believe in constitutional carry. But that being said, we can't carry into federal government buildings, and you can't go through TSA, and you got all these, checkpoints and stuff. So, you have to abide by the laws, and you have to respect what these people want, and as far as
you're deferring to the business owner.
Yeah.
Okay.
Excellent question. I personally do not often carry a weapon as far as a firearm, but certainly it would be a powerful statement if our Libertarian Party could negotiate open carry or carrying a firearm at our convention, just because it would be such a contrast with the other political parties. It's not a make or break issue. It was more about news media attention than about the issue. Hopefully, we would not be victimized. I mean, that's the purpose of carrying a weapon, so that we're not victimized either by some other opponent or some very violent person or by the government. So, that's our principle. Thank you.
I went to the Virginia State Convention, and it was held at a hotel, and they did allow carry, and it was a sight for sore eyes. I enjoyed it. I felt safe. Women were carrying. I saw new ways to carry. I felt safe, and I thought it was a great way to show liberty, and show our support for the Second Amendment.
Thank you, Jack. I'm going to have you hold on to that microphone. I'm going to start from you this time. It's also another gun question, and it is, do you believe anyone should be denied the right to own a firearm?
I don't know how you would deny it. You know, there's been discussion of the mentally ill and that sort of thing, but I just can't imagine any sort of thing that really, who would judge that, who would abridge your rights and that sort of thing. So right off the bat, no, I don't see many restrictions for it.
Okay. Red?
Okay, excellent question. I don't know how the other presidential candidates feel about this. I personally, in Texas, feel that Texas is a very colonial type state, provincial state, kind of a backward state. Some of you may know that Texas denied open carry until very recently. In other words, other states allowed open carry, but Texas did not. So we have a very strong movement, pro-gun, open carry, carry a gun movement. But my issue is with the government and thinking that if there's a way to address individual liberty and whether or not a person is carrying a weapon or can have a weapon, then we should address that as a higher standard for the government. Why in the world would we allow any public official or any government person, any police, law enforcement, or military person to carry a weapon of any kind that was denied you and I? Really, the theory of libertarian, the theory of the libertarian movement is that we are the government. So those other law enforcement people, police, military, others, they're our servants. So they should not be more heavily armed than us, and they should not somehow, by virtue of their office, be exempt from some kind of evaluation. And I would submit that many of our law enforcement people, even people in the military, are really not someone that you would like to have carrying a weapon. And you know,
All right,
in all honesty, I mean, we really need to have that discussion. Thank you.
Go ahead, Thomas.
Okay, so the Second Amendment, I'm a strong believer in the basic principle shall not be infringed. That holds solid. And, I believe in safety and I believe in justice. And that's where I stand firm on that. And as far as picking out who should
All right.
Go ahead.
I'm just going to keep it. Some of the questions are real short. Like, nobody should
It's
be-
really basic, shall not be infringed. Thank you.
Go ahead, Darrell.
Nobody should have their right to defend themselves denied by any government authority.
What about if they're on probation and parole?
Nobody should have their right to defend themselves denied by any government authority.
All right, moving on to economic issues. I'm going to highlight a little bit of Bernie and Hillary Clinton. They're in favor of a $15 an hour minimum wage. Where do you stand on that? And since you haven't gone first yet, Thomas, I'll let you answer that first.
Man, I watched that debate the other day, and it was pretty disgusting. It was tough, but you learn from it, and you listen to these people and how they don't talk about the economy. And, they talked about raising this $15, and they take a plan, and they're looking for their mission, but they didn't realize in the national debt and how that will affect every single person across the whole country. And, so, my proposal was always, as far as that, is the flat tax rate, and then it would create jobs. And you don't need to rate the minimum wage. Let the companies decide on their own as their sales progress, and they're able to pay their employees more. That's what
Okay, I'm going to move on to Red.
The $15. Why stop at 15? Go to 30, 50, 100. I mean, this is insanity. And thinking that you can use the you know, the overreaching power of government, the abusive government, the absolute power of government to impose that. Who would be getting that? I call them the greedy Democrats, because, you know, ultimately it's just I don't know. Somebody famous once described the communist or the socialist as the party of, you know, it all sounds good until, you know, somebody has to pay for it, and then they're taking money from your pocket to pay the other guy.
You're talking about Margaret Thatcher saying how the communism is
There
you
you go.
eventually run out of other people's money.
Exactly right.
I'm not leaving you, but I thought that's where you were going.
Yes, thank you for reminding me it was Margaret Thatcher. Thank you.
All right, go ahead, Jack. I'm interested. You own a business. How many people do you employ?
About 30 between the two businesses.
Okay, and do most of those people work on minimum wage?
None of those people work on minimum wage, and all of my employees would be paid more than they earn, except for that the government keeps swooping in and taking my damn profits. That's where the money goes. That's what keeps me from being able to pay my people more. It's what keeps me from being able to buy a new building. It's what keeps me from being able to buy a new piece of equipment. I went and got a second job so that I could pay my people more, so that I could accumulate money for equipment, for automation, because I invented something and I need equipment to do it in a building. It has been 10 years now. I went and got a second job, and the government took every bit of the money from that second job as taxes.
Well, that's because you have the audacity to earn more.
Pretty soon I'm gonna sit. And let me tell you something about socialism. If you sit, you know what they do? They make you work. It's a slave thing. And one other thing about Bernie Sanders, that son of a bitch has never worked a day in his life.
All right. Bernie Sanders doesn't even take the time to do his hair. But go ahead.
He was on welfare until he became a politician.
And he's still on welfare. Just a different kind.
To tell me how to pay people or know anything about free enterprise system at all. That's how I feel about it.
Thank
And I'm
you.
glad.
Thank you, Jack. Dara, where do you stand on this issue?
You know, I look at this from a very different perspective because I'm partially self-employed. So there's a lot of times when I don't make minimum wage because I'm not making enough money to actually pay myself what the government says I should be paid. So really, when you look at the minimum wage and you see that they're saying you are not allowed to hire someone for below X per hour, then that not only harms the business owner who might only have X minus 2 to pay somebody, but it harms the person that doesn't have the skills to actually wind up earning whatever that wage is. I know when I first started working, the first W-2 job that I had, not working for my father, I think I was making $4.75 per hour. And I was very happy to make that. I would have done the job for $4, but I was told, no, the lowest we can pay you is $4.75. And I was like, okay, that's even better. And now they're saying, you know, you have to pay people at least $7 something, although in a couple of states that's up to $10 per hour. But the people that are making minimum wage, in a lot of cases, they don't have $10 an hour worth of skills to provide. So really, ultimately, what you need to do is get rid of minimum wage laws and let the market decide what people are worth.
Thank you very much, Dara. Okay, what about the income inequality issue? I bet you knew I was coming to ask you all that question. First of all, I'm going to ask it in a couple of different segments, and I'm going to ask it in a couple of different, there's different portions to it. What is your opinion on the issue, number one? Keep it short. Then, do you believe it's a real issue? Is it a good thing that we have it or a bad thing? And do you believe individuals can control their economic destiny regardless of ethnicity and gender? Who hasn't gone first yet?
Red's not gone first.
Go ahead, Red.
Excellent. Well, let me get on my soapbox about women's rights and equal rights. For me personally, I was raised by my mother and my grandmother. I'm not denigrating males. I'm not trying to put down men. I'm just saying that for me, it's an issue that doesn't need explanation but it's one that has never resonated around the world. So this came up at our Texas Libertarian Convention, and I had 4 women speakers, and I asked that question. And you know, when you look around the world, you look throughout history, you just cannot find it anywhere. It's tragic. And you're thinking, how does this work? You know, so I'm not going to go into that too much. I mean, why? There's respect for women. There are family. There are mothers. There are, you know, daughters. And
okay, let me just stop you right there. Do you first
yes.
of all believe that there is an income inequality, or do you think it's a political issue?
I know there is. And so I certainly would favor equality, but
So
we just talked about...
do you believe the government should force businesses to pay women the same amount?
We've just talked about the whole issue of minimum wage. You know, if the Libertarians are in agreement that the government should not force any minimum wage, then how would you do it? In other words, you would just have to do it voluntarily, because, you know, there's a variety of businesses. I mean, you can look at job for job, but I mean, there's no real method. Certainly, I think women are the highlight of our political system, the highlight of our world, but I don't know how you go about other than saying they should be treated equally in court, they should be treated equally in your life in every way you can, but how would you mandate that in government? What we are doing in our foreign policy is exactly the opposite. We are partnering with the Islamic states all over the world and the Middle East.
All right, we're going to get on to that next.
That totally oppress women.
Jack,
That's a crime.
you own a business. Do you pay women less because they're women?
I don't employ women.
Good.
I would never think of paying.
Go ahead and tell me, how do you make determinations as to what to pay people? Is it based on whether they're male or female, or is it based on skill level and whether they show up for work?
It's based on merit. It's based on my ability at the time. It's based on history. It's based on any number of things, but it's seldom, and it's never based on, you know, there was something, what did the person earn before then, but it's never because the person was male or female, this was that pay. Those are the sort of thought processes that I go through. Bias.
Hello?
Oh, Jack?
Hello. My fault, I'm not good at this.
Let a woman teach you how to use a mic.
The question though was income and opportunity disparity. And there is income and opportunity disparity. It's between the races, it's between the genders. The race is a historical thing. Gender, I'm not sure quite the reason why. Maybe it's roles in life and missing a certificate. I'm not certain. But no, the government should not ever force businesses to do it, but it doesn't say that there's not a problem, and there's not a way that we should go about solving the problem. And there is a way to solve that problem, and if income and opportunity disparity are just one of the topics this election season. There's poverty, there's our debt, there's health.
And we're going to get to all of those in a couple minutes. I'm going to move this right along and let Daryl go ahead and talk to me about it.
So, you know, one of the wonderful things about statistics is you can make them say whatever you want to make them say. And I ran the numbers several months ago because somebody had asked me about, you know, is this gender wage gap thing real? And so I was looking at statistics and found that on average, men work more overtime than their female counterparts. On average, men take fewer sick days per year than their female counterparts. The average for like 100 women is 1.25 pregnancies per year. So then when you factor in what the amount of time off for pregnancy and maternity leave is, then you can look and start looking at the statistics and run numbers on, I ran the numbers on a mythical company where I had 50 male employees, 50 female employees, figured out what the average overtime was for men, average overtime for women, average sick days. The highest paid mythical employee that I had earned $1 for every 61 cents that the lowest paid mythical employee that I had. So you could look at that and say, see, women earn 61 cents for every dollar. So you can make the statistics show whatever it is that you
just made up
want.
your statistics to make your point.
No, I didn't make up the statistics. I found what these statistics are on how much overtime the average male employee
Oh, I
works in a
understand that.
year.
I was kind of just joking with you. You had you had a mythical company, and you made
Yes.
a mythical.
I ran the statistics.
And you came up with that.
And
That's fine.
I was able to use the actual statistics that exist to show that if you pay everybody the same amount based on overtime worked, amount of maternity leave, amount of sick days, that you could make it look like the wage gap is anywhere from the same to 61 cents on the dollar. So is there some sort of income inequality thing that exists? Yes. Should the government be involved in trying to fix it? Absolutely not.
Okay. Go ahead, Thomas.
Yeah, I always see this, every time I hear this, I'm going, why do we even talk about that? We always seem to be growing up to where it's always based on merit, what an individual puts into earning the wage that you want to earn. And it doesn't matter what gender or what race you are or anything like that. And this whole country has always been like that. And it's for every individual that, for what they put in, that's what they make. I was a machinist for 25 years. One lady, she was a machinist right beside me. She made the same money as I did, and she was good. But she worked that, and she put the hard-earned effort into it and studied, and that's how it is for any individual, I believe, as far as race, gender, it doesn't matter. I see the whole subject as a smokescreen just to bring up some kind of political talk.
I hear you. We're going to move on to taxation is theft. It's been said.
Absolutely. That was an easy question.
That's a statement. Whether it's for the poor or to justify war, what strategy would you oppose to walk back the current tax code? I'm going to start with you, Daryl, and in about 2 minutes, tell me what you would do.
Oh, I can tell you in about 30 seconds. What I would do is I would work with Congress to repeal all forms of coercive taxation and have every government agency operate on a fundraiser method the same way that your local library does. If people want something, they'll donate for it. If people want to kill people in the Middle East with little flying robots, they can give money to it, but don't steal money from me to pay for something that I find to be immoral.
I'm sorry, Thomas.
Repeat the question again?
Okay. What I said is, we have heard lately, taxation is theft. Whether it's for the poor or to justify war, how would you walk back the tax code?
How about walk back the tax code?
So that we pay less.
Definitely on a flat tax rate. I mean, it's somewhere to start. I'm always pushing that because being a numbers man all my life.
When you say a flat tax, do you mean everybody pays the same dollar amount, or are you talking
across the
percentage?
board, I mean, as far as a certain income level, of course, below a certain income level, these people wouldn't pay taxes. They don't pay taxes now as it is. I mean,
Okay, well, what income level do you think shouldn't have to pay taxes?
well, I mean, without having, I don't have all the numbers in front of me. I would need some experts to show me where a bottom line poverty is. What is it, 25, 30,000 for an individual?
Poverty line for an individual is $11,800 per year.
See, below that.
Thank you, statistic man.
That's what I propose.
Okay, let me understand, because there's two different types of flat tax. Some people would say you pay $6,000 a year flat tax, that's what you pay, and others say 10%. Are you in a percentage?
I would say a percentage.
Okay.
Percentage on the wage that you earn.
Okay.
Until a certain point to where the whole idea is a limit to government, and that's what be the ultimate goal would be to limit the government.
Okay, I'm gonna. Brett, you're next.
Wow, tough questions, right? In other words, the Libertarian Party really needs to have a profound answer for this question because it could make a huge difference in this election. So basically, I would say something that other people have said, and I found very effective. We should not be taxing anyone that is in a lower income level. In other words, and then, you know, that raises whole questions about how are you going to judge that. But believe it or not, we tax people that are destitute, that are living in poverty. And so it's not just income taxes, it's sales taxes, it's property taxes, on and on. So we're defeating really a goal that we should have as a society, is to lift people up, help people stand on their own feet. But the very people that we're trying to help stand on their own feet, we're taxing, and then the Democrats would justify and say, oh, you know, we can take all this tax money and then we can help you. Dear God, you know, that's the last thing you want to hear. The government's here to help you. If they're going to take all your money to help you, we're in a lot of trouble. So I would say the income tax initially was instituted for very high levels of income. Only, I think, I might be wrong about this, but only the top 10 or 15% of income earners in the United States. I'm talking about
When they first started, I think it was 6%.
1913 or something.
Yeah.
So we should go back to that and just eliminate that income tax. We would stimulate the economy in a massive way if we simply tripled the standard deduction and personal exemption on everybody's income tax tomorrow.
Okay.
The economy would take off. It would be that's a no-brainer. I mean, just, you know, that would eliminate a lot of people's worried about whether we've got to file an income tax. You know, instead of like having, you know, $5,000 or $10,000 as exemption and personal standard deduction and personal exemption, raise it up to about $30,000. That would help a lot.
All right, Jack, I'm gonna ask you a little bit about corporate income taxes, and how do you feel about those? Are they too high?
You know, when you say corporate income taxes, all the money that my company makes goes through me. And so, yes, they're too high. They take up to 40%. Literally, when I said I went and got another job and doubled my income, and they took all the money from me, and when they take 50%, and you do what I just said, they took all of the money that I went out and earned and kept it in there. So absolutely, it's too.
So how would you change things, and what effect do you think it would have?
What you have to do, a fantastic effect, and what you have to do is remove the programs that require the tax support. But you can't remove the programs. It's not a sellable deal in America without some way to replace them. Americans want their social needs met. And there is a way to do that through free enterprise and not government, and not our taxes, and a voluntary system, and simply making more efficient use of our lending system. And by doing that, we can remove welfare, health care, education, Social Security, Medicare, all from the things that our tax dollars support, and we can reduce our taxes, our federal government, by 60%, by more than $2.5 trillion. My goal would be initially to have our tax rate go down.
I actually want to give you time to discuss your plan, because I did see your video, and I'm interested in that. I want you to be able to share what all that is, but I do want to just get to the general questions first, and I'm going to let y'all explain yourselves, but we're getting close to out of time, so I'm going to skip to the education. You have the microphone, so I'm going to let you stay. Do you believe everyone should go to college for free?
If they want to.
That they don't pay for it?
That's right.
Okay.
But you can't do it the way that it is now. You have to do it by a new plan. And I have a new plan that sends people to college not on the government, but through another way. That's not with our tax dollars, and it supports the system, and it meets their needs, and it reverses our government debt, and it lowers our taxes, it does all the things we want to do, and it sends them to college.
Okay, we're giving people a little bit of a tease. We're going to get back to it. Okay, Red, go ahead. And this is just real quickly. Do you believe that other people should pay for someone else's, when I say people should go to college for free, that means free to them, but other people are paying for it. Do you think the rest of the world should pay for someone else, for not just someone else, but everyone else, everyone who graduates from high school to go to college?
Obviously, the Libertarian answer is absolutely not. Why are we having any of this paid for by anyone? But as a society, obviously, those issues have come up. Certainly in Texas, the #1 financial affairs of the state of Texas is public school finance. So we're not even talking about college, we're talking about public school, elementary and secondary. What I would like to see because we are one of the most progressive nations in the world as far as education systems, but kind of denying that to the average person because it's at the university level. So what I would like to do is develop a system where I'm not trying to eliminate the elementary school. I don't want to send people to school at 4 years old like our former mayor did. They want to have daycare for a 4-year-old. That's crazy, and get the people to pay for it. But so basically, I would just like to have a college pathway for every child in America, but one that would kick in at the end of your elementary school. So when you're like 10, 11, 12 years old, you would have a college pathway offered to you, not paid for by the taxpayer, but one where the universities all over our public, our community colleges and universities all across the country would engage all these school districts all around the world, all around the United States, so that you would offer that opportunity, because we're wasting valuable man hours by educating people in a secondary education system that is meaningless. I think the secondary education is worthless, and they should already, at 10, 11, 12 years old, already be in that college pathway.
Okay,
Yeah, I'd like to see everybody, I'd like to see my grandkids grow up and go to college, and I often wonder how that could happen. I would think maybe a flat college tuition, some of these colleges are so outrageous, and we can eliminate, have it to where every student can have ability to go to college. And be able to, if it's such a flat rate, maybe something they can afford in 4 years' time and not break their backs after 4 years. I mean, that would be nice. So I try to look at a solution of it. No, I don't want to see us paying money for somebody else's kid when, we work on a merit basis. And people want to, put themselves and work hard and better themselves. They should have that opportunity. And some kids don't want to go to college. I didn't go to college, I went to college for 4 hours, and that was it. I had enough.
they kicked you out that quick? They kicked you out after 4 hours?
I learned all my 4 hours education in four,
You learned all you needed to know?
4 years time and 4 hours time, all right? So kind of like that, all right?
All right, Darryl.
For the most part, most people do not need to go to college. But that being said, everybody in this room could get a free education from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. You probably know it as MIT. They actually have all of their courses online. You can go to their website and get a Ivy League education for spending $0. So you can get a college education absolutely free that's not being paid for with stolen money. But that said, I think the vast majority of people do not need to go to college, but if you want to learn, you can learn for free right now.
Excellent, thank you very much. I'm going to move over to border security and national security. Over the past several years, I know you've heard on the news that we've had somewhat of an influx of people sneaking across the border. How would you handle the border situation? How would you discourage people, or would you continue to encourage them to come across the border?